This is NBK, nothing but Knicks. When Sim passed the assist, you know that it's #1 show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock, who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Nick updates and trade rumors? Postgame reviews, this the place you tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sub like a player that came off the bench. This is NBK, nothing but Knicks.
Knicks family, what's poppin'? Ladies and gentlemen, the Knicks take a loss tonight to the Minnesota Timberwolves, 115-104. And, no OG Anunoby, no Jalen Brunson, no Deuce McBride, no Landry Shamet. So the Knicks were definitely undermanned tonight versus the Minnesota Timberwolves. They still had a chance to win the basketball game. Cat had 40. Tyler Kolek a near triple-double. But we couldn't pull it off, ladies and gentlemen. We played catch-up the entire game. Just too much Anthony Edwards. Too much Julius Randle in the fourth quarter. Anyway, I got my brother Tony Crow in the building. We're going to break this one down. You know what I mean? And, we both got some thoughts about the game. Tony, what's popping with you, brother? How you feeling, man?
What's good, Sam? Shout out to the chat. Glad to be back. Your Blackest Time.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we knew it was gonna be a tough game with us being undermanned, right? So my thoughts coming into the game was really, what are we gonna see? What are we gonna learn from the guys that are gonna get the opportunity in OG and Brunson's and McBride's absence?
Yeah.
Tyler Kolek, he's first off the back, stepped up to the plate. He had a shaky, I'll say, first half. He had some good moments in the first half, but you could tell his legs weren't really under him at a certain point in the game. A lot of his shots were, mid-range bunnies that were real short, a couple air balls grazing the rim. But came back in that second half and kind of turned things around. You know what I mean, and really took control of the game. Ball handling, playmaking, rebounding. You know what I mean, like you said, near triple double.
Near triple-double from Tyler, man. That's beautiful.
Yeah, and so great experience for him. Great stepping up and acing the test. You know what I mean. And that's the biggest takeaway from this one. And Cat. I don't want to jump the gun if you're trying to, go player by player, but we got some things to talk about Cat as well.
Yeah, we always seem to have something to talk about with Cat, man. But let's. I'm gonna continue to rejoice about Tyler for a little while before I jump into, talking about Karl Anthony Towns. Tyler. There was a point in the game where Tyler was the only person I wanted to try to create a shot. Right? There was a point where I was like, I felt like he was the only one that could legitimately create a shot without turning the ball over, or at least feeling like the shot was going to go in when he created it or tried to create it. You know what I mean? It just felt like that to me at a certain point in the fourth quarter. He was the only one, to me, in my opinion, that when the game, started to get a little tight, played with poise and without fear. You know what I mean? And was playing like he just wanted it. You know what I mean? I felt like, and we'll talk about it, I felt like there was a point in the game where personally, and I know Cat had 40 tonight. And like Kev is saying, the bounce back game is a good bounce back game. You know, you had 2 one night, you come back and you have 40. All right, so that's definitely a bounce back game. But there was a point in the game where I needed Cat to stop the bleeding. Right, Minnesota was going on a run in the fourth quarter. I think they went on like a 9-0 run, and you know, I wanted Cat to be the guy to stop it from happening. You know what I mean? And you know, it felt to me like it started to come too late when the Knicks were down 16. You know, then he hit a couple of threes or whatever. You know, but you know, there was a point in time. You know, and during this same time, I felt like Julius Randle was taking it to him. And I do know he had 4 fouls, so it was tough for him to play physical. But it felt like Randle was taking it to him. You know, we were talking about the steal that Randle had where he just ran through Cat. You know what I'm saying? It felt like Randle said, let me get a little bit more aggressive, right? And come at this guy. You know, and it was that point in time where I felt like, you know, here we go. You know what I mean? He's you know, I don't know. That's just, you know, what I felt during the game. You know what I mean? And I know he had 40. He had 24, 25 in the first half. You know, he shot the ball well. He was 14 for 24. He was 9 for 11 from the free throw line. He had 13 rebounds. He definitely put up numbers. I guess my thing is the timing of stuff. You know what I mean? The timing.
Yeah.
The timing.
Timing is a great point. I'm gonna piggyback off that because to me the turning point of the game, if you will, was Cat picking up that offensive foul. I believe this was his 4th foul. But the offensive foul that went from being an N1 got challenged to a offensive foul. To me, that was the turning point in the game. He had to sit a little bit longer. You know what I mean? To your point, with Randle coming in with 4 fouls, going right at Cat, couldn't be as aggressive because he played a decent enough uh, defensive game, right? And you know, just to give him some credit, you know, so it's not like we're just bashing him. I think he's been on a stretch of playing a lot better defensively.
Yes, without a doubt.
You know what I mean? So, you know, credit when credit is due. Um Tonight I felt like was the night that he needed to go out there and demand the ball, you
Yeah.
know what I mean, or you know, find a way to take over because they had no answer for him in the first half, right? And it didn't matter what the matchup was, and he got it within the flow of the game. You know what I mean? So it's a thin line of finding your time to take over and be aggressive and be demanding. But if there was any ever a time, it was tonight
Yeah.
against your former team, without Jalen Brunson, without OG. You know, the expectation is somebody has to step up, and not saying he didn't, because 40 is great, but he needed 50.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
40 is great, but he needed 50. Pardon me.
Yeah. You know, and he played 11 minutes, 25 seconds in the fourth. Right? He did make 4 field goals in the fourth. But I don't know, for me, it just didn't feel like it was, you know, let's put it like this. Brunson would have took 10 shots in the fourth quarter in this game. Right? And I know someone has to give Cat the ball. You know what I mean? So that's one thing. But I just want him to be more demanding. That's all. And especially in times like this, I just want him to be more demanding. You know what I mean? Kev says Cat is a great player, but if he's the best player, you aren't going far. A great comeback performance by Cat. Yeah, it was a great comeback performance, but you know, we need him to elevate in games like this, on nights like this. And that's part of the reason why, you know, the team wants to be able to feel comfortable with sitting Brunson. Because you know that Cat can. He's going to take the mantle. And they want to be able to know this, and I just don't know. It's a good learning experience for Mike Brown, right? To say, can he take the mantle? Now, getting 40 on the surface, in my opinion, might look like, yeah, he took the mantle. We just didn't have enough. To me, all right, most of that came in the first half. I don't know. There was that 9-0 run where I just felt like he didn't. We needed him to stop the bleeding. It was that run, and I'm not blaming the game on him. Obviously, we were down 2 of our major players. You know what I mean? We were down 2 of our major guys. Our best player in Brunson, and maybe our third or fourth best player, or tied for third best player in OG. Makes a difference.
Without getting too deep, because I want to use some of this for my next show, but one of the topics I want to discuss is, are we being too hard on Karl Anthony Towns? Because the numbers are still good, right? And like, the numbers are still good, even though they're down from last year. But he may be the guy, making the most sacrifice. And when you talk about a championship team, you know what I mean? That's one of the main things, these players talk about, is how much everybody has to be willing to sacrifice. So, are we being too hard on them? What's your thoughts on that?
Oh man, I don't know, because we need Cat to win a championship, and we need him to play like an All NBA player most of the time. Which this year, to me, it's been kind of on and off. And on nights like this, when Brunson's not there, you need him to be that. We need him to get 50 and not 40. And it sounds bad because he got 40. You know what I'm saying? Because he got 40, it sounds bad. It really does. But it's all about timing and when you're getting those points. Because he could have had. What if he got 40 and got 40 in the first half, and didn't do anything else in the second half? Right? It's about timing. And when you're getting your buckets, and when you decide to step up.
And if we could win, despite him having 2 points and 5 shots, when Brunson is carrying the team, then when Brunson's out, you know what I mean? We need you to kind of,
get
step
40
into that role,
get 47
and offset it. You know what I mean? So
because think about this, and obviously he's not Brunson, right? He had 2 points the other night, and Brunson had to go get 47 to win the game, right? Because it was almost like Cat wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? And on a night like tonight, go get 47 because Brunson's not there.
That's my point.
And like, demand it, scream at somebody, tell them to give you the ball, whatever it is that you have to do. So it's listen, and he could have got 50, and he could have scored in all the right moments, and they still didn't win.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But we would have been able to look and say, all right, he did everything.
His part. He was aggressive. He tried to take over. You know what I mean? Like, I agree. Because I think there's plenty of blame to go around.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So this is definitely not blaming the loss on Cat. I thought, the young guys got a lot of opportunity tonight. You know what I mean? And Tyler continued to show growth. A lot of the other young guys still were in that, that phase of learning on the fly and not necessarily being comfortable and things of that nature. So and kudos to Brown for using these guys and not going with a 6-man rotation. So
Right.
you know what I mean. So he gave these guys opportunities. It's a vital opportunities. Like they're gonna learn from these experiences.
Yeah. But Tyler Kolek though showed a lot. You know what I mean? He just really showed a lot about his heart. I think his grit. Um, you know what I mean? He just really showed. He really showed what he's made of out there, and he's proving to everyone that he can. He can be a contributor. On obviously the Knicks are a championship contender. He's showing people that hey, I could be a contributor on a championship contender. You know what I mean?
It's the most
He's
encouraging thing.
yeah. Go ahead.
Pardon me. The most encouraging thing for me, and it's gonna sound weird, but it's the fact that he's playing great alongside Brunson, and
Mm-hmm.
that's something I would have never imagined we would see often. You know what I mean? And now it's come to the point. I know Brunson wasn't here tonight, but it's come to the point where that's becoming a staple, even in the fourth quarter. Maybe not all the way down the stretch. You know what I mean? But stretches in that fourth quarter where he's playing alongside Brunson, and he's still contributing you know what I mean, to the maximum of what he could be doing. So still aggressive, you know what I mean, like helping by getting Brunson off the ball a little bit more, but he's still aggressive in those moments. It's not like, oh, let me bring it up and just give it to Brunson. No, I'm gonna make a play for myself, find somebody. Like
Yeah,
he's on a stretch, man,
he's on a
and
stretch. Beautiful
it's
stretch.
it's meaningful.
Yeah, beautiful stretch. He's doing his thing out there. You know what I mean? Doing his thing, and he's going to force the team to have to make some very very tough decisions. You know, he's going to force the team to make some tough decisions. Just to follow up one last thing on Towns and what I'm talking about. Cat made a layup at 7 minutes and 34 seconds left in the fourth to bring the Knicks within 8. He didn't take another shot until until like 4 minutes left in the game.
And what were we down?
We were down 16.
You see, that's
You know
I
what I mean?
agree.
He didn't take another shot until then. And he made it. And then he came back and he hit a 3. Right? But at this point it was kind of late. You're down 16.
Mm-hmm.
And he was in the game. You know what I mean? Um, you know, you
And the reason I do put some more blame on him, like I agree with you when you say he has to demand it, because unlike our previous coach, it is preached right now like the open door policy, right? And so you should be more comfortable with Mike Brown, even if you got to let him know, hey, give me like
exactly.
give it to me, let me, you know what I mean? It's my time. I got, you know what I mean? Whatever it is, but you should be comfortable that you don't even got to feel rogue about it. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? You don't got to feel like you doing something to disrupt the team.
Right.
When you have that open door policy, go ahead, man. Speak up.
Yeah. Speak up, And hopefully, this is all still I don't want to say a learning process, but he's learning as he's going. You know what I mean? And someone's in his ear, saying, "Hey, listen, you're a cat. Take control." You know what I mean? And he's learning how to do that. Hopefully, you know. Kev said, "Sim, that's not Cat's fault." Sarcasm. we know. I mean, Kev also said the best thing to do is lower expectations for Cat. He isn't the number one. He's that number two spot locked in, though. Yeah, there's no doubt on this team. He's the number two guy on his team. That's without a doubt. That's easy enough. It's the nights when Brunson is off or not there that we need Cat to step in because even Bridges has a hard time stepping up on those nights, right?
Mm-hmm.
A night like tonight is a night when Bridges should be able to step in and be like, okay, I gotta go for 28.
Mm-hmm.
And he gave you tonight what he's been giving you. A decent game. Well, he didn't shoot well from three. A decent game. No 15 points, 3 rebounds, shot 43.8% from the field, but only 16.7% from three. You know what I mean? Like there wasn't a third guy out there for the Knicks, like third threat, like serious threat. Jordan Clarkson had 10. Josh Hart had 12 and 6 turnovers. He had 15 rebounds and 8 assists, but he also had 6 turnovers. Hart was playing emotional tonight, emotional and clumsy.
Another pivotal point in the game was that flagrant foul he got.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, losing his cool. I thought that was another moment that, we lost momentum. They gained momentum from that play. Now, granted, I think they missed 2 fouls on that play.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I get the frustration, and it looked like we was frustrated all night. So part of tonight, it felt like the Knicks kind of lost their cool. They let the physicality get to them. You know what I mean? It wasn't like the Orlando game from that we lost. It wasn't to that degree. You know what I mean? But it was like, man, we lost Brunson, who has that mental toughness and is physical.
Mm-hmm.
We lost OG, who's our most physical guy. You know what I mean? And they kind of, I don't want to say punked us, but they out toughed us tonight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Out
It wasn't
toughed us,
like
yeah. It wasn't a punking.
It wasn't a punk. It wasn't punked, but they out toughed us.
They out toughed us. Yeah. That's for real. Trav Bryan said to Ralph Unreal. And big shout out to Trav Bryan. If you haven't heard his music, make sure you go check that out. You can find him on Instagram at Trav Bryan Music.
And shout out to Ralph.
What'd you say?
And shout out to Ralph.
And shout out to Ralph. Always. Said not really into moral victories this year. The team was in a winnable. The team was in a winnable and was terrible at executing. No excuses. If you are a contender, you got to act like it, no matter who's available. I definitely get that. Now, they did fight back, right? They continued to go down double digits, and they continued to fight back, right?
Took the lead.
And took the lead. Minnesota had more tonight than the Knicks, obviously. But the Knicks had 19 turnovers. The Knicks didn't have somebody step up in the situations that, at the time that you need them to step up.
And
bright spot was Tyler Kolek, though. Still got to give him, 22 shots for Tyler Kolek tonight.
I just want to say, I'm not calling it a moral victory, but at the same time, I think Minnesota as a whole doesn't even get the respect that they deserve. Like, they are in the same exact situation that we are in, as far as maybe not globally, or maybe not spoke about the same way, but as far as like contention and championship or bust, or you know what I mean? Like, these guys been in the Western Conference Finals the past 2 years. Nobody talks about them like it gives them the respect that they deserve, in my opinion.
That's true.
You know what I mean? This is with 2 rosters, you know what I mean? With Cat, without Cat, you know what I mean? So, like, you got to put a little bit of respect on them as a team, as an organization, and where they are. You know what I mean? Like, they trying to get over that hump, that same hump we trying to get over. You know what I mean? So they're not a walkover. You know what I mean? Far from a walkover.
Far from it. I mean, they're 20-10 after tonight's win. They're 8-2 in the last 10 games. They've won 3 straight. You know, they're a good basketball team. You know what I mean? And they do get slept on. They got slept on last year. And for the most part, right now, you don't hear a lot of people talking about Minnesota this year. It's all about OKC, San Antonio, right? Houston. You know, nobody's talking about Minnesota. So they're definitely a team that they're a good basketball team. We know that. They're a good basketball team. They're aggressive, physical, defensive basketball team. They're going to come at you. And that's one of the reasons why, in my opinion, Tyler Kolek's performance is so much more impressive. You know what I mean? Because, you know, he's doing it over, you know, he's doing, look what he did against a good basketball team. And his confidence is just growing. Gritty Grizz said, I will admit I was wrong about Tyler. I was definitely in here trashing him over the summer. He'd been hooping. He'd been hooping how he was hooping when we drafted him. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. You know what I mean? He has. And he seems he's getting better and better and better. He's getting more confident. You know, so definitely a big shout out to Tyler. The rest of the team, man, I mean, besides Cat and Tyler, you know, the production wasn't okay. I know Josh Hart had 12 points and 15.
I'll throw Clarkson in there too. I think
for a
he
little
might have
bit
been underutilized tonight. But you know what I mean. I felt like he had some good stretches.
He had some good stretches.
Still shooting the ball well.
Yeah, he ended up shooting 27%.
I meant for 3, but I don't know. Even though
he was 3 for 5. He was 3 for 5 from the 3-point line.
Okay.
I mean, he had some stretches where he was playing well, shooting the ball well. I'll say that. You know, but you know, Josh Hart lost his cool tonight. 6 turnovers. His head wasn't really in it. You know what I mean? He hustled the way he normally hustles, and that's who Josh Hart is, but the head wasn't there tonight. You know, Mitchell Robinson, 2.7 rebounds in 26 minutes. Bridges, 15 points tonight. I think we needed more from Bridges tonight. 15 points and 3 rebounds. He didn't even fit a stat sheet in other areas.
It's tough for me to get on Bridges because I felt like, even though it's not like he had a great defensive performance, he had a tough defensive assignment, and I thought, you know, for the most part, you know, I thought he made Ant take tough shots. You know what I mean? For the most part, I did like him, you know, posting Ant up a little bit. I think we've seen a couple of those. But overall, I don't know if we've ever or if we will ever see him raise his you know, from his role. You know what I mean? Like I still, and this is not a knock, because I still think he can be an all-star, right? Like he could put up the numbers to be an all-star, but I don't know if we'll see him try like take over or have those stretches where it's like he might get high from 3. We might see like a, you know, 6 for 8 from 3 one night, or we might even see 10 threes from him in a game once. But just to take over, I don't know if we're gonna see that from him.
Yeah. At least not consistently. It may happen every once in a while when he really gets hot. And still, I'm not sure if it'll be the type of takeover that we're thinking of.
Exactly.
It'll be because other guys was finding him. He was hot behind the arc. That type of thing. You know.
Shout out to DJ Shutter too. He texted me talking about you know, him avoiding the contact. You know what I mean? Always like he just got to get to the line, man. He made those layups. You know what I mean? Them leak outs and those alley oops. But a lot of times he just be missing them too because he's trying to avoid the contact.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think that's ever going to change. That's just who he is and how he plays.
How he
I don't
stays
think he's
healthy.
going
I
to
guess I'll choose.
how he
I'll
stays on the
choose
court.
that rather and him not missing games.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'll live with it. I'll live with it.
You know, does a game like this um make you nervous about when there comes a time when we may have to play a stretch without Brunson, or we get into the playoffs and Brunson's in foul trouble, or Brunson is, whatever it is, that we're going to struggle, because this is a playoff caliber team. You know what I mean? Now, we didn't have OG either, and we didn't have Deuce. So that's going to change things too, right? If we had OG tonight and not Brunson, this game probably looks different. You know what I mean? Because we have we just have more depth, and we have another guy that can give you 20. So this game probably looks different, and another guy that can defend Randle, right, or defend Ant-Man. So it definitely looks different if OG is there and not Brunson. But it still posed the question to me: who steps up in the absence to be the leader, the guy, right, the conscious, the voice?
Well, the only reason I say I'm actually more encouraged than discouraged is because of what we've seen and been seeing from Tyler. Um, and you know what I mean. So to your point, Tyler playing along with OG, you know what I mean. I think that still makes OG better, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Tyler on the floor in non-Brunson minutes, I think this team potentially will be better. Every now and again, we will see, the defensive liability get exposed.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the one thing that we have seen from Tyler during this stretch, and why we haven't seen him get exposed defensively as often as before, is he's making heady plays,
Right.
and the team, in a sense, is already used to modifying the defense around the point guard. You
Yeah.
know what I mean, and helping and adjusting. Double, let him get back to man, whatever. You know what I mean? Like they help him out. So the fact that they consciously do that, and he plays smart defense as opposed to just, a lockdown defender. I think I'm more encouraged, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah. And he's heady, man. Like the play where him and Diawara were fighting for, loose ball,
Mhm.
and it ended up being a
Yeah, he
tie
let
up,
go.
right? And he
Mhm.
let go to make sure that he wasn't the guy who had to jump. That's just heady, smart basketball. You know what I mean? Just smart. And listen, I would like to see the Knicks play more without Brunson, before the playoffs start. One, so that they can learn how to play without Brunson, right? How to get these wins without Brunson consistently. To see Tyler, get some more burn as a starting point guard, and see how he continues to develop there, not to replace Brunson, but so that when it is time for him to play for Brunson, if Brunson is out due to foul trouble, whatever it is in a playoff game, we know he
Defender
can
minute,
come in
whatever.
and give you, he's going to come in and really give you production consistently. You know what I mean? And so the team starts to develop some kind of chemistry on the floor with Brunson not there, because the amount of turnovers on just simple passes tonight,
Hmm.
a lot of them from Josh Hart, were just ridiculous. You know what I mean? Just simple pass to the wing, and they're jumping it and off to the races. You know what I mean? The amount of times Josh Hart hit the ball with someone, Ant-Man just bang, steal it. You know, and I'm like, yo, what's happening? What's going on out here? You know what I mean? And I
And you
think,
almost
go ahead.
no, I was gonna say it's almost better to have him have the extended minutes, and even if his turnovers, go up for this game or whatever, fluctuate, that experience for him with more time and more, you know what I mean? Because it's more likely for the point guard to have the highest turnovers anyway, right?
Right.
The
Yeah.
guy
Yeah.
making the most decisions.
And has the ball
But
in his
it's
hands the
also
most. Yeah.
you better off with him learning in these times
Mm-hmm.
as much as possible now than you know what I mean? Guys like Josh Hart, who we already know strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
Most of those aren't going to improve or change dramatically, the rest of his career.
Yeah. Yeah. Old had said Kolek is gaining valuable confidence to give Brunson breaks. Notice the team gives him the ball and lets him play the point. Yeah. You know what I mean? They give him the rock and let him play the way that he plays. You know, he's earned their trust. He's earned it. He's earned their trust. And I know it has to feel good for him earning that trust from the team, from his coach. You know. But the Minnesota Timberwolves, ladies and gentlemen, Anthony Edwards, 38 points, 2 assists tonight. He shot the ball well from the field and from three. 27 shots for Ant-Man tonight. It's a lot of shots. Randle, he didn't shoot the ball well in the first half. He ended up 10 for 20 from the field,
He was
25
3 for
points,
11.
3 for 11 in the first half, right?
Mhm.
Ended up 10 for 20 throughout the game, 25.6 rebounds, 3 assists for Randle.
I mean, he
Over
was
4
7
from the
for
three-point
9
line,
in
though.
the second half.
Say that again?
7 for 9 in the second half.
Yeah. He started cooking in the second half. He started just, attacking. Realized that Karl Anthony Towns had 4 fouls. He just started playing bully ball. There's nothing we could do about it. And, I do think that one of Minnesota's, one of their game plans or one of their strategies coming into the game was to pressure the Knicks ball handlers. Without Brunson, without OG, even though OG's not your typical ball handler, he's a guy that you can outlet the ball to. So I think they saw that the Knicks didn't have ball handlers out there and said, we're going to pressure the hell out of them. You know what I'm saying? Let's jump the ball. We're going to jump the ball. We're going to jump the pass. And it worked. 19 to the tune of 19 turnovers. You know what I mean? And yeah, I definitely think that was a strategy. It wasn't just, it happened. I think it was they came into the game with that mindset. Sorry about that. I had to yawn. Probably made a bunch of people out there yawn. I apologize.
I'm trying to hold it.
Rudy Gobert, 11 points, 16 rebounds, 3 blocks. Dante DiVincenzo, 11 points, 8 assists tonight. 8 points from Mike Conley. Nas Reed had 8 points, 11 rebounds, 9 points from Bones Highland. The Minnesota Timberwolves, though, they shot the ball decent enough. They took care of the basketball. And they played some aggressive defense against us tonight, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to listen to Mike Brown in just a second. I wanted to, go down the game stats. I brought the wrong thing up on the screen. 50, the Knicks had 55 rebounds still tonight to the Minnesota Timberwolves 42, but it just wasn't enough. 20 assists for the Knicks tonight. That's a low. 8 steals, 2 blocks, 19 turnovers. The Knicks only shot 41% from the field. They shot 36% from 3 and 73% from the three-point line. The Knicks dominated the paint, 54-42. Second chance points, the Knicks 25-17 Minnesota. Minnesota 20 fast break points, the Knicks 16. The difference in the game, the big difference in the game is turnovers, man. The Knicks turn the ball over. Turn the ball over a lot. It's hard to win. Turning the ball over and bad field goal percentage is a recipe for a loss every time. let's take a listen to Mike Brown. Then we'll break that down, and then, I'll let you go and finish rapping your gifts. Because, that day is here. It's Christmas Eve. Just turned Christmas Eve. That day is here, so I'll let you go finish rapping your gifts. Let's listen to Mike Brown talk about tonight's game. Tony, anything you expect to hear from Mike Brown about this game?
Turnovers.
I think he'll talk about turnovers. I didn't listen to it yet. Turnovers, composure.
Obviously, he's gonna give Tyler Kolek some praise.
Gonna give Kolek some praise. He should. He deserves it. Yeah. Let's see what Mike Brown has to say.
Minnesota credit, they were extremely physical night with us, and they were the root of our 19 turnovers. It's going to be hard to win on the road if you have 19 turnovers for 22 points off those turnovers, and part of it. Those turnovers led to easy baskets and transitions. So we gave up, the way we calculated, we gave up 35 fast break points. And again, the root of it was off of our turnovers. So trying to do a better job in those two areas is a must for us on the road, especially when we're down when we're down bodies. But give Minnesota credit because they brought a lot of physicality to the game and created a lot of those turnovers.
Coach, how impressed were you with the fight of this team? Looked like a lot of moments Minnesota might run away with it, but you kept it close, even shorthanded.
Yeah, we did, but we feel like it doesn't matter who's in uniform. We feel like we're better than that, so this stings, because again, if you can have 12 turnovers for 13 points or whatever it is off those turnovers, you give yourself a chance. But to have that many and not play with the next play speed, I'm a huge next play speed guy, and on some of the turnovers and things that we had, we didn't react well. And that part was disappointing to see. We did fight in spurts, but I'm greedy just like everybody in that locker room is. We're all competitive, and we know we could have done a better job, and we didn't. You give Minnesota credit, and we learn from this, and we move forward.
I like next play speed. I like that wording. And basically what he's talking about there is just what he said. You got to get on to the next play. You cannot stop and think about what just happened. Because that play is gone and over with. You're not going back in time. You're not going to get it back. You got to move on to the next play just like this, right? One of the things I've always preached to my teams, the teams that I coach, I always ask them, what's the most important play of the game? I ask every team, and I drill it into their brain. Tony, the most important play of the game?
But I'm not sure if I was gonna guess based off of what Mike Brown is saying is the play after the turnover, but go ahead.
The next play. The next play is always the most important play of the game. That's the way I look at it. And so you've got to play that next play. You got to play that next play like it's the last one in the game. Because even when you get to the last play of the game, it's still the next play after the previous play. So it's the most important play. You know what I mean? And so that, I like what he said, next play speed. You know what I mean? How quickly do you turn around and shut your brain off from the last play and move on to the next play? You know what I mean? How quickly do you do that? And there were a lot of times we didn't do that tonight. Definitely agree there.
I guess Josh Hart, what's the opposite of player of the game? Because I guess it would be Josh Hart. He was the guy not, couldn't let the last play go.
Couldn't let the last play go. Right. Couldn't let the last one go. Yeah, there you go, Kevin. The next one. Yep, That's always the most important play of the game.
Is any of what you saw there due to you were playing some combinations
that I don't think we've seen at all this year. Like at one point, I think you had Diawara, Huckporty, Kolek with Mitch and Josh, like combos that we've never seen. So you think some of that is maybe leads to some of the mistakes?
It could, but you know, our young guys, they got to be ready. That's what this league's about. If you're missing bodies, next man's got to be, he's got to step up. And, you know, again, I thought just their physicality, blowing up our DHOs, fighting through the passing lanes, and us not doing any counters. Like if somebody gets in my body and I'm about to come off a DHO.
I just want to, you know, for anyone who's not sure what he says, when he says DHO or direct handoff, right? You know, we see, you know, if Mitch or has the ball or Cat, you know, they're handing it off to the guy coming around them, just in case anybody wasn't clear on that.
Well, just pick it up, and now I make a cut to the basket, and you play with the next guy. But we continually try to give it to that guy, and they blew up the DHO, or they got to us on a dribble and, you know, took it from us, however it may be. We know how to counter those things. We worked on those things this morning at shoot-around because that's how they play us. And we just have to be better overall.
What do you think of Cat's physicality off the bat, especially around the rim, drives, that kind of stuff?
Oh, you know, Cat obviously, you know, he can score. He had 40 tonight. You know, I said it before. He's a walking double-double. You know, he just has to continue to try, you know, to not pick up cheap fouls. He had a couple of cheap fouls where he led with his hands, or he hooked the guy. And you know now we have to sit him for X amount of minutes when he needs to be on the floor. So, you know, the 40 and 13, it doesn't surprise me at all because he's more than capable. But if you're going to be a great player, and I'm sure he does too, we expect more from him so he can be out on that floor.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, more from him in the not fouling area.
We needed 50 and 15.
Yeah. 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 You know, you expect more from him. You know what I mean? And that's the truth. What are you gonna say? That's the truth. That's the truth. You know what I mean? And the fouls, he might be taking himself out of rhythm.
Exactly.
You know?
Out of rhythm, out the game. You know what I mean? It's changing the momentum. It's changing that. If not the team, your own. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
If not both.
Right.
Tyler, I think career high minutes, career high points, career high rebounds. Just, you know, what did you see from him today?
You know, Tyler was good. He was good in spurts. You know, I thought he tried. He struggled initially. You know, he was, I think, 3 for 10 at halftime, and you know, he ended up being 6 for 12 in the second half. And you know, we needed to get scoring from others, so he stepped up in that area. You know, to get 11 rebounds at his size was fantastic too in 31 minutes. So for a young guy, he tried to do what he could while he was out there, but we need more from him. Probably more so defensively than offensively at the end of the day if we expect to get a win on the road.
Well, those are actually it actually is praise for Tyler Kolek. And you see Walter White say he didn't really praise Kolek. Brown has high expectations for him. These words actually are praise, in my opinion. Because just like Walter is saying, he has high expectations for him. And so what he's saying is, we knew you could do this.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We know you can do this. Okay, cool. You did it. You almost got a triple-double. All right, I know that, but we needed more to win this basketball game.
Yep, and you could do better.
And you can do
Not
better.
only did we do that, we know you could have did better.
We know you, right. Imagine if you had a better first half.
that first half was choppy. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
you missed a couple of bunnies that, you know what I mean, and not just missed them, but they didn't hit the rim, so they that loses that opportunity for a rebound. You know what I mean? Like so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And if you play better defensively, right? You hit some of them bunnies in the first half. You play better defensively. Maybe we win this game. You know what I mean? This is high praise though for him when you think about it, because someone who maybe you didn't expect this from, you'd be like, "Oh, great game tonight. He had 20 points. He had 11 rebounds. He had 8 assists. Almost a triple double. Great game from him." You know what I'm saying? For someone that you have high expectations for, okay, cool. Do better. You know what I mean? So it actually is praise for Tyler, you know, when you think about it. Let's get back to Mike Brown.
And then just with Julius, you guys did a good job containing him, most for 3 quarters at least. Then I think he scored 13 straight points. Just what did you see during that stretch specifically, in the fourth quarter?
Yeah, he was just aggressive. He was just taking it right to us. We started blitzing Edwards, and so they basically just gave him the ball. He put his head down, and he attacked our chest. And again, you got to give him credit because he used his footwork, he used his power, he used his strength, he used his quickness to get by us, to finish at the rim, and to get to the free throw line. So he's a really good player, and you got to be really solid with him, showing your chest, not giving him any angles. And I thought we gave him too many angles. And then one of the things that we talked about was when he gets into his bag. He loves to shoot that fadeaway jump shot, and very few times did we get to a position where we can rear view contest to make it hard on him. So, again, like I said, you got to give Minnesota and their team credit, starting with Coach Finch, because they handed it to me and everybody else.
A couple more. What leads you to bust out that zone in the second quarter?
We wanted to mix it up. We weren't getting many stops. Ant was, playing at a high level, and we wanted to try to just give him a different look.
Just I know you talked about the physicality. Your guys have sometimes shown some frustration. There was the thing with Josh today with Rudy. How do you think they're handling that? I guess mentally getting the foul calls and not getting the calls they want.
But I talked to all of our vets. The officials, they're not going to help you win the game. They're human. They're going to make mistakes out there, and we as a team, start with me. We got to try to leave the referees alone because we're good enough to still go win games. I thought on that particular play, and I'll go back and watch it, but I thought on that particular play, Josh got pushed. Rudy hit the ball, but then he came down and pushed him. That's why he was off balance. And when things like that happen, guys can get heated. The guys are competitive, and then usually something else results from that. I've experienced it in the Palace and the Malice. Back in the day in Detroit, it started with a little foul that wasn't called, and it escalated. But like I said, the officials are human. They're going to miss stuff, and we have to do a better job, starting with all of our vets, to make sure that we're a no excuse team. And I believe if we really embrace that, starting with our vets, we're going to be fine because we're good enough to win a lot of ball games. Thank you, guys.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Mike Brown. Anything in there that you agree with, disagree with?
It was something he said, but I can't remember, but it was intriguing. It was right when you cut it back on from the last break, like the first thing he said.
Mm-hmm.
But I lost it.
I like that he was tough on Tyler, and I like that he's straight to the point about, guys. Okay, you gave me 40, but we need more. You gave me 20. You almost gave me triple double, but we need more. I would have liked to have heard what he thought about Josh Hart's overall play because he had a lot of turnovers. You know, obviously that one play, you know, it could be argued about Rudy Gobert or whatever. You got to keep your head. You got to keep your composure. You can't, you know.
Well, I think
It's the
when
second
he
person
said
that
the
gets
whole
caught, you know.
next play speed, you know what I mean? It was directly to him without necessarily
Yeah, yep,
having
okay.
the same. You know what I'm saying?
Right, right.
I do love the fact that he takes accountability as well
Yeah,
on himself and say, you know, I got out coached or they beat me
right.
up. You know what I mean? They beat me too. So
Yeah,
um, I do love that.
yeah. Anyway, you know, all right, we took a loss. Time to come back on Christmas, take care of the Cleveland Cavaliers. You know what I
That's all I
mean?
want for Christmas.
You know, we be back in the Garden, 12 p.m., Knicks versus Cleveland at Madison Square Garden. It's going to be on ESPN, right?
Yeah, I think they won
Or
tonight and
ABC, on ABC, whatever.
if they ship.
Yeah. So, you know, it's time to take care of business. I can almost guarantee you everybody will be playing. And, you know, probably not Deuce and Landry Shamet, but, you know, I mean, everybody else will be playing tonight, Christmas Day. You know, the Knicks are still second in the Eastern Conference at 20-9. Detroit 23-6. They're 8-2 in their last 10 games. They continue to win big basketball, ladies and gentlemen. And for whatever reason, okay, we need to mark this down right here, Tony. I can't capture it on my screen right now, but I'm looking at NBA.com and my OBS setup here, and it has Cleveland and New York 31-31, quarter two, 10 minutes and 7 seconds. I'm telling you right now, that's what it says.
31-31, second quarter.
31-31, quarter two, with 10 at 10 minutes and 7 seconds. That's what it says right now when it popped up on my, you know, when NBA.com popped up. So, you know, we need to pay attention to that because, you know, we need to pay attention to that to see if that's real. How disappointed would you be, Tony?
That would break my heart, son.
For real?
That would break my heart.
That it would me too. I think it would me too.
And I don't remember if we checked it, but I could have sworn that happened to me when we was on the phone before, and I told you I thought I was bugging because it showed the score way before the game started, like a couple hours before the game started.
That'd be crazy.
I would be heartbroken. Chat, remember this as well, so we could 2 minute the second quarter, 10 minutes left, 31-31.
Yeah, that's what it showed. Second quarter, 31-31, 10 minutes and 7 seconds left in the quarter. Right, and then it showed that, and then it showed all the other games underneath it. It didn't show their scores. So it was like the Knicks game. Yeah, the upcoming games. It was like the Knicks game was playing, and you know they were showing you who else is playing that night.
Also make me want to put some bets in. Just in case.
You know, the crazy thing is, you know, I wasn't able to get a screenshot of it or anything like that. But I'm gonna remember that though. You know what I mean? Hopefully it ain't so. But anyway, anything else, Tony, before we get up out of here?
I'm really trying to get a show in tomorrow. I don't know if you free soon, but I'm banking for like 1:00. I should be back from my appointment around then. So yeah, if you're not available, it's cool. But chat, tune in.
We'll see. We'll see
talk with me.
Yeah, we'll see how. I have a couple of appointments tomorrow. You know, one-on-one sessions tomorrow. You know what I mean? So let's see. I may be able to get in for like 20 minutes or something.
Yeah, if we knock it out. I got a couple of questions about this Christmas Day game. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
And where we are. It's not the end of the world, guys. We knew this was gonna be a tough one. We knew it was gonna be a tough one. I'm about to highlight a comment because I was definitely gonna ask you about this
Yeah,
when
go
we
ahead.
got off air.
He said, Marcus Miller said, Hart is like Draymond. Without Brunson energy and hustle, get you L's.
I swear to you, I was gonna ask you about that off air, but since we're here, I had heard somebody prior to this game reference Josh Hart as our Draymond Green, and they was saying it in the positive as far as like what he brings to the table.
Right.
But I ain't gonna lie, watching the game today and the outcome, that same thought popped into my head, like, and I don't know if it's like he don't want to play when Brunson ain't playing, but I feel like sometimes when his responsibility is heightened to the point like guys are missing, it becomes a little bit too much. You know what I mean? Like
I can see that.
It's too much of an ask of him.
I can see that for sure. It becomes a lot.
He does a lot already. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like with these guys around him, so it's almost like that. Like, all right, now I got to score too. You know what I mean? Now I got to ball handle even more. You know what I mean? Like,
and with Brunson there, the extra pressure isn't on him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I definitely can see that. But anyway, folks, thank you for your time. Marcus Miller is back after the Lovers Lounge debacle. That whole conversation that night was just a little bit off.
That was bad timing. That's all.
That whole conversation was off. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, be peaceful, spread love. We out.
This is NBK, nothing but Knicks. When Sim passed the assist, you know that it's #1 show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock, who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Nick updates and trade rumors? Postgame reviews, this the place you tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sub like a player that came off the bench. This is NBK, nothing but Knicks.